What's up, guys? I wanted to make this video to share with you some of the important things that I've learned about nutrition and diet in the years that I've been experimenting with the two, along with weight training. And one of the most important things that I picked up along the way is that each individual body will respond differently to different diet and nutritional plans. What I mean by that is, using myself as an example, it took me a long time to realize that my body reacted differently to carbohydrate intake than most others, in the sense that I tend to store body fat if I'm taking in for energy and fuel carbohydrates rather than high fats and removal of the carbs. So again, that's one of those things that it's hit or miss. It depends on how your body reacts. You have to try, and through trial and error alone, figure out what works for you. The flip side to that is, when I remove carbs completely and I up my fats, I do lose body fat. I am able to stay in better overall shape, but I lose vascularity and I lose some size, some thickness. It's a lot more difficult to put on size and to bulk in any sense without the carbs. Another thing that I've realized is, when I take carbs as a main portion of my diet, I tend to be a lot more hungry throughout the day, especially at night. Even though I'm eating clean, the carbs in themselves, I think, add to my appetite. It's not satiating enough that I can go, long periods of time without thinking about eating again. Whereas when I remove the carbs, up the fats, and basically go on like a ketogenic diet, I feel that I'm way, way less hungry. I don't even think about eating at night, snacking and stuff like that. I don't even feel the urge because I feel full. So again, that's another one of those things that I've learned through trial and error. Another important thing I've learned is that what you consume in the form of liquid is also very, very important. And a lot of people mess up their physiques in that regard. They're not paying attention. They're drinking sugary drinks, Gatorade, soda's just the worst. And so for me, basically, the rule of thumb that I've always lived by is water is the primary liquid that I'm going to consume, no matter what. It's 99% of everything. The only other thing I allow myself on a regular basis, on a daily basis, is coffee. I don't have any sugar in the coffee, but I do have a couple cups of coffee a day, and I've been able to balance that fine within my diet. But, for the most part, I remove everything else. No juice, no sodas, and again, nothing sugary. Water has to be the staple of what you consume as far as liquid goes. So some other things that I've learned with regard to diet and how portions and how meal frequency affect my physique are that, for me, I realize that I don't need to eat as frequently as a lot of people advocate. When I want to bulk up, if I want to bulk up, that's the way for me to do it. Yeah, eat as many meals as I can per day, including the liquid meals, the protein shakes. I would go up to like 10 a day if I really wanted to bulk up. I mean, when I really got big, I got over, 230, and I did so by just eating all the time, even in the middle of the night. I'd wake up every couple hours and I'd have a protein shake or I'd eat something. That's the way I learned to bulk. I have no intention of doing that again. I don't think I'm ever going to want to do that again. But that's what works as far as my body goes. I've always been a hard gainer throughout my life. When I was young, I was very, very skinny. It was almost impossible for me to gain weight. So to break through that plateau and change my body type from that to one that can hold a little bit more size, I had to force feed. That was the only way I could do it. So from a young age, I knew that I just couldn't hold weight well. So I had to force feed myself and let my body become accustomed to having much more food than normal if I wanted to gain weight and maintain some size. Again, that's not my intention these days. These days I like to stay around 190, maybe 195 pounds, as low as 185 pounds. Depends how I want to carry it and what time of the year it is. But I try to stay, there. So again, another thing that's real important, maybe one of the most important things I learned, is how my body reacts to poundages and whether or not I actually need to lift heavy. And this is a real important thing, because for the early part of my training years, I believed that you needed to constantly increase the tension, the amount of weight you were lifting, and improve in that regard in order to get big and build big muscles. And again, that may be true for a lot of people, for the majority of people, but for me, I've learned over time that that's not actually the case. It does work, yes, but I can lift a lot of weight when I train to do so. So when I train to do, to go heavier and heavier, I end up lifting a lot. And in lifting a lot, my body's so much more susceptible to injury, and I have gotten injured many times doing that type of training. So I realized that it's not worth it for me because there is an alternative. The alternative for me is that I focus much more on the actual movement and maintaining tension for a longer period of time and just concentrating. For example, if I'm doing curls, I'm concentrating the curl very, very slowly. So I'm not going to be able to go heavy, and I apply that to any workout. I'm not going to be able to go heavy, but I go very, very hard and very intensely. Again, with maintaining focus on the targeted muscle at all times. And so again, it's a different way to train. It works for me. It allows me to be a lot healthier and allows me to avoid the risk of injury, which nobody wants. So again, it's one of those things where trial and error is the answer and should be your own guide in how you develop whatever routine ends up working for you with regard to workout and with regard to nutrition. So these are just some points that I've learned along the way. There's a lot of other things, that I picked up, and I just wanted to share this with you. Hopefully you guys take something out of this and give some thought to it. The main point of the whole thing is that only when I realized that what worked best for me was knowledge that I needed to attain on my own through experimentation, that I really start making some progress in understanding my body and how it reacts and how to develop it properly. So as long as you're listening to somebody else and what works for them, you're really wasting a lot of time. And I hope you guys take that at least from this video. Thanks.